Virgo. So for those of you who are veterans at the Zodiac Lounge, you of course know that how many signs do you have within you? 12, all of them. So you have all permutations of the Zodiac. And the Zodiac, to be clear, is the manifestation of the divinity, the divine, God, however you want to describe it, becoming during the course of the year. When I say becoming, you are always in process. We like to think that we are solidified as one thing. I'm a Capricorn, or I'm a Virgo, or I'm an Aries, or I'm a Scorpio, right? But you are all the combinations of them, but in different proportions. So the key aspect of astrology is figuring out your right proportion. So when we talk about, for instance, Virgo, we are talking about the crystallization of one moment in time that we are focused on as a way of illuminating our whole consciousness, our whole being, the whole process of becoming. So we're going to go back to go forward. So last Zodiac Lounge, and you can access that online, I talked about Leo. And I talked about the roar of Leo and how Leo is how we summon the energy of identity in order to kind of have our own sense of sovereignty, your own sense of being where you're willing to break away from the herd in order to establish your own sense of power. So Leo ultimately deals with how you establish your sense of power within your own mind and your own consciousness to be able to set yourself apart from the herd. That may be family, that may be your tradition, it may be culture, where you come into your sense of your own. That doesn't mean that you break away from it and you have no sense of your family or the herd or the group, but you take in the most valuable elements of that so that you can establish leadership even within your own soul. Now, once you have reached that crux, that crown, you have to have the righteousness and the clarity to be able to wear the crown. That's where we have Virgo. Virgo represents the moment where you have the idea not of perfection and not of just efficiency, but the idea of being ready, the idea of being prepared, the idea of using that power and give it training. So let me give you an illustration that many of you might find familiar. So again, go back to Leo. One beautiful illustration of Leo is Whitney Houston. Now, she had a son in Leo, and she had a beautiful voice and sheer power in her voice. And if you think about Whitney, and you listen to like, I Will Always Love You, or you listen to the Star Spangled Banner, which is under scrutiny right now, right? And you hear her sing it, it's like no one else has ever sung it, right? There's a beauty, there's a power in it. But here's where she did not have the lesson of Virgo. She did not discipline her power. She did not discipline her voice. And so she suffered the aspect of range, her performance ability. I'm not blaming her for that. I'm saying that Leo has the responsibility. The reason why Virgo follows Leo is that Virgo says, now don't you want to be better? The first priority, the first presentiment of any Virgo is like, well, don't you want to be better? They presuppose that you want to kind of be better at what you're doing, that you want to perfect and develop and become more efficient. They wouldn't understand why you would come out dressed like a nut. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. And so Virgo, people always get this image of Virgos like, ooh, they just like persnickety, and they're just like all fastidious, and they want you to kind of dot your I's and cross your T's and all these other things. Not realizing Virgo's going back to you like, well, why wouldn't you want to do that? Why would you want to trash yourself and trash your life? So Leo, right, kind of goes with the raw power, where it's like, okay, how are you going to show control, discipline, rigor, groundedness in that work? And for that, we have another paragon that exemplifies that, whether you love her or hate her or loathe her, right, is Beyonce. Beyonce is a Virgo. Now, one thing that's interesting, When you look at all the movie Dreamgirls, all the actors who played the Dreamgirls are Virgos. All of them. Now, there's a reason for that. It's not because, every Virgo is a dream girl. That could be true, right? But the deeper aspect of it is realizing that Virgo is the idea of the aspiration, not just toward perfection, but preparation and being ready to be the vehicle by which you disseminate what we would call the truth. What we would disseminate as what really becomes readiness, stepping into using the power of Leo and harnessing that power in order to have more utility from it, more purpose with it, that you want to be better, that you want to perform at your best. You want to be at the level of succession to even have more control and power in your life. That's what Virgo represents and encapsulates. But sometimes we get away from that and we get into the dream of perfection. So this becomes the sorrow of Virgo. Because sometimes Virgo chases its polarity. And one thing I haven't talked to you enough about is your opposite sign. So we like to think like if you're just one sign, you're just that sign. Like you're just a Virgo and that's all that is, right? Or you're Gemini and that's all there is, right? What else is there? You have two sides of one coin. So if we're talking about Virgo, we have to bring up Pisces. And Pisces becomes that idea when you're chasing the ideal, right, of perfection. And Virgo can get trapped into that. You want an illustration of that from modern and pop culture? Look at Michael Jackson. Now, I want to teach you a lesson about Michael Jackson in that sense as an illustration of Virgo. So Michael was also a moon in Pisces. So he had the opposite. So he was really always chasing Never, Never Land. And trying to really have it on earth for himself and for those he loved. And so there was this dichotomy that he had in his own very life of trying to bring down to earth his sense of heaven. And that's also what kind of prompted and accelerated even his demise. And in terms of the pain, in terms of that pursuit of it and kind of going for it, one thing that I might also mention about Michael is that really Virgo pays attention to the minutiae, to the breaking down of each particular matter, each particular point, in order to get to its essence, to find out if something deeper is there. Now, people talk about the moonwalk and all his different dances. If you watch Michael very carefully in the development of his work, you will see it's all about the micro movements. Every single thing, in terms of how he moves and the control of his body, every particular muscle. So really, we are looking for the idea of heaven in a grain of sand. That's the deeper mystery of Virgo. Realizing that if you want to get to the essence of spirit, if you want to transcend, it does make good sense and becomes important to focus in on the details. The devil is not in the details. The devil wants to avoid the details. The thing is, you can't let the details dominate you. And this is where Virgo has to be careful. You are not caught up in the details in order to kind of better understand matter. You're caught up in the details to better understand spirit. Virgo, you were born to transcend. But your means of transcendence is through the earth. It's through connecting to the minutiae, to the details, to wanting to improve, making sure that you're looking at high performance. How many of you have ever heard of a guy, he's like one of my pop gurus right now, I'm curious, interested in him, Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss wrote The 4-Hour Body, he wrote The 4-Hour Work Week, all right? So if you look at this guy is all about data and really kind of wanting to pursue and go deeper into data. Now, he's a Cancer sun, but guess where his moon is? Virgo. So it's all about looking at the details in order to have a higher level of performance and readiness and preparation. Last thing I want to say is that there's a stereotype about Virgos that they're always neat people and always, very much conscientious, and they probably have the cleanest homes. That isn't true. And let me tell you, nothing in astrology is always true for any particular sign. But what Virgo is that they will focus on the efficiency above like one particular principle like cleanliness and everything. If it's more efficient for a Virgo to have a sloppy house to get a project done for 2 weeks, that's what will happen. Because that becomes the most efficient, practical, sensible thing to do. So it's not always about having to be the most clean, the most ready. It's probably thinking about what becomes most efficient in going for your goal. And your goal is to transcend just the material through the material by analyzing and discovering the whole world in an atom. That becomes the beauty, the grace, and then even the majesty, the soaring of Virgo. Thank you.